So you emailed me last week. You said you're working on, is it a senior project for your business
Uh,
school?
I'm actually a sophomore right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're doing like a class project where we email people who we look up to, basically people who inspire us. And I emailed you, of course, because I've seen that you on Instagram you're like the CEO of DealMachine, a lead generation software.
Yeah.
You're also a big fan of racing. So am I.
Got it.
Yeah.
Well, dude, it's great to hear from you. So you probably started following me in the last year.
Yeah. About that time.
Okay,
That's when
cool.
I seen you first. I think it was on TikTok,
Yeah. Oh, okay. Awesome.
and I was just looking through your LinkedIn, and it looked like you studied computer engineering,
I did.
Missouri University of Science,
Yep. That's right.
and then it looks like you went to AT&T as an IT manager. How did that shape your skills and perspective in the tech of real estate?
That was awesome. I did it actually my summer of after sophomore year. So it was an internship where it actually paid pretty well, especially for the time. I think it was like $20 an hour. So it was more than any job that was available around. Before that, I think I worked for like $8 an hour at a nursing home in the kitchen.
Wow.
So it was great that I got to, have actual work experience um, for a summer, not just like learn stuff in class. And so the AT&T IT department is actually, it's like a $20,000 department. And it's not like people who plug in the computer on your desk. It's actually a software development company at a large scale that builds apps for different parts of the business. So I got exposed to developers do what the product manager requests, and then there's software testers, and the project managers kind of lines out everything, estimates how long the project would take, and then has regular meetings with the team to clear roadblocks if they have any, and ensure stuff's moving along on time. And so I got to be like the project manager for a couple small internal websites that needed like some updating. So, I mean, dude, in school, I was like taking some programming classes, but seeing how it actually gets done made a lot of sense. Now, I remember my dad was in IT as well, and he'd come home when I was a kid and say, "Well, I'm working on these projects at dinner." And I just had no concept of what that even meant. Like, I thought, oh, projects, I do projects at school. I thought he was making a trifold poster board and showing it off, right? That's my
Yeah.
idea of a project because that was my experience at school. So, especially that first internship was like, oh, okay, I understand what he's talking about now. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot of people working on this, and he's the one that like organizes the calls, makes sure things are going smoothly, and reporting progress to, the manager that's buying that software development in the first place. So, yeah, dude, that was invaluable to have like an actual experience.
I'm doing something like that as well. I was doing it at Medtronic. It recently ended though. It was basically you work alongside with other vendors who are looking to work with Medtronic, and basically you would assess if they have any vulnerabilities. It's like a cybersecurity internship.
That's amazing. So, what are what's something that you definitely learned there that you maybe had a misconception about, like what work would be like?
So it was like a remote job. It was pretty decent. I was getting paid about like $20, like you were, and I learned that companies they don't just partner up like out of the blue. They don't just, they actually have a process they have to go through, and I was able to be a part of that process and seeing the ins and outs of what they do to get to where they are.
Yeah, they plan it out. They don't just randomly do stuff. Is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
for sure. So what prompted your transition from that IT manager role to where you are today?
Yeah, I actually did two more internships, and then when it was full time, I did another IT based job at Accenture, actually, which is a consulting firm, and I was doing like database development as part of like a 500-person team that was working to Accenture at the U.S. Postal Service to help redo some of their software for their bulk mail system. I continued along that path of like software as a business is a really great opportunity, and I was very intrigued by that. I has been working on like a side hustle. And it was a software for fraternity recruitment, which I was involved with in college. But now that I was after college, I read this book back when I was in college on like how to recruit for your fraternity. And I noticed that they actually had people make a Google Doc with a list of names, and they could all collaborate on that list of names, be like, yeah, this is like who I think would be great to join our chapter. But I noticed like in any other job, like in my internships, there was actually a special software for everything. So I was like, well, I'm gonna make a special software for fraternity recruitment. And then I'm going to go meet this guy who authored the book at a conference and be like, hey, you should buy this from me. I made it for you. And I did that. And he bought it from me. He bought it for like $10,000, which was nothing compared to like the time I put into it. But I got to work for him. So, and that was really exciting for me. I actually took a pay cut. So I went from like 70,000 a year to 50 to work for him. But it was invaluable because I learned how to build a company, because he had like 20 employees, is much smaller, and he built a whole business around that software I made. So those 2 years I spent working for him gave me enough to actually figure out how to build my own business. Now, he actually also had rental properties. And I was like, why do you have rental properties and not like just stocks? Like I've been putting stuff away in my 401k. And so he was like, well, the stocks go up and down, but the properties, if you manage them well, they'll always give you that cash flow, which could allow you to retire, early if you wanted to. So I kind of went that route. And I noticed the same opportunity in the real estate space. I was like, okay, they're telling me to drive around, look for rundown houses, and then send mail. But I'm doing it with a pen and paper. There should be a tool for this. There's a special tool for everything, at AT&T. So I made an app for myself, used that to get my first deal. And some people wanted to use it too. So I put it on the App Store, and then the app itself became a bigger opportunity than just me doing the real estate investing. So that's got me to where I'm at now. And then the hobby of race car driving, I mean, you can't get into that unless you have a rich uncle or you pay for it yourself. And I didn't have a rich uncle. So now I was able to pay for that myself, really got into that the last couple of years.
So what do you consider like the most significant challenge in the real estate industry today?
Well, a lot of people are upset about interest rates because the interest rates have gone up. They feel like it's harder to find a rental property that cash flows. Mm-hmm. I would just remember back to when I was working in 2016 for my new boss at the time with a small company and 5 rentals. And I was looking at his rentals, and he bought them for $100,000. Now they're worth like $250,000. I was like, damn, if I only bought those properties 6 years ago like he did, I'd be in a great shape. But I actually didn't let that hold me back. I found my own good deals. And then now looking back at those, they've also like doubled in value. And now I'm the one people look at and they're like, well, if I had been interested back when you were, I'd be in great shape. And it's like, no, yeah, of course, yes, but it's always going up. If you look at the Federal Reserve interest or home price index, it always goes up. If you look at the Federal Reserve graph for rents, that goes up even steeper. And so if you're thinking about investment property, it's always going to go up. You're always going to look back and be like, oh man, if I could have bought back then, it would have been great. But you need to think about no matter what's going on, no matter what interest rate. I mean, I'm talking about even 2008 when we had that big crash, the rent didn't go down. You could look at the graph. It's just continued to go up. So you just need to find the best deal in the market condition you're at rather than try to wait around, time the market, or feel bad that you missed out on a great deal.
So what advice would you give somebody who is just starting out? Like, I know some people, they start off by wholesaling real estate. I just learned about that recently.
Yeah.
Is that something you did as well?
No. I was really getting into it. I like the idea of wholesaling, but I felt a little bit nervous that I had never closed a deal before at all. So how am I supposed to close a deal and pass it off to an investor? I was like, maybe I should just buy a house myself. So that's what I did. And I didn't buy any house. I bought a house that made sense as an investment property. So it was like a 3-2, but the investor who was flipping it, they actually converted 2 of the rooms in the basement to bedrooms. So now it was a 5-bedroom, 2-bath house. And it was in my price range. I'm going to use like first-time home buyer loan. So I think the price was like $194. And with that first-time home buyer loan, I think I put $10,000 down. And so I moved in myself. So I'm not paying rent. The mortgage, taxes, insurance was like $1,300. And I rented out 3 of the other rooms for $550 a piece. So I was bringing in, 15, 1600. My expense was 1300. And I also was getting to live there for free. So, dude, that was a great way to start for me, because then I had the experience of even at least doing a transaction of some sort. And I also minimized my living expenses. So that was how I started. So, I mean, if you're in the position to buy a house, you've got a good credit score, good income with your career path. I mean, if you have a job in IT, you're going to have that. So I think that's a great first move.
Yeah, I have a friend right now. He just bought a fourplex, and he's been working his ass off. Um, and he's basically living there rent free, and he's getting, I think, like 600 cash flow.
Nice. Yeah. Similar type of deal. I just did it with a single family house.
Mhm. So would you say? I mean, I recently just learned about wholesaling, but would you say that's like a proven uh, business model that works?
Oh yeah. No, 80% of my users who use my app DealMachine are wholesaling. It's a proven business model that works. Absolutely.
Because I I just got my real estate license, so I'm like a realtor now, and
Congrats.
yeah, so it's been like hard finding leads and stuff. So I was like, you know what? Let me try wholesaling. So I just got into that right now, and I was just making a few calls earlier today.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome. What lists of homes and homeowners are you calling?
Right now, I'm looking at like so the county they have a list of condemned properties and vacant properties. So I've just been skip tracing those and calling those type of leads. Most of them they don't answer the phone. I just leave a voicemail, and some of them they answer, but they're not looking to sell at all.
How many calls have you made?
I haven't made much today. Yesterday I made about like 5 calls. I know it's not enough, but just starting out, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're making some calls. My advice would be turn that up. I think I made like 160 calls in an hour and a half. And with the dialer in DealMachine, you don't have to dial the numbers, et cetera. It just keeps going on to the next one. And typically that'll give me like 9 conversations, people that actually pick up. And most of them, of course, won't want to sell, but you need to have like 200 conversations roughly to people like that in order to find one deal. So if you think, yeah, so you need to be doing like 30 hours of calling.
30 hours of calling.
Yeah. The faster you can do that, the faster you'll get a deal, basically. So, and I tell you that because if you just do 5 a day, you could spend months doing 5 a day and then you not get a deal, think it doesn't work. But in reality was you just weren't making enough calls. And like I said, like if you do like an hour and a half a day, then you just have to do an hour and a half a day for like a month. Anybody could do it for an hour and a half a day.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could find the time.
One last question I would ask is like, what's your favorite car?
Dude, I really like the F80 that just came out last week. And of course, I won't ever get one because you know how that works, right? They only make 700 of those cars. And they're sold before they even announce the car, right? In order to qualify to have the ability to buy that car, 1, they just have to like you. And 2, you have to have like 10 plus different Ferraris in your collection, like currently, so nobody gets those cars. But that was really cool to see. I mean, they get 900 horsepower from a V6. And a lot of people were like, oh man, this much money for a V6. But when I was in high school, I remember like the V8 Camaro had 310 horsepower and then the V6 had like 200. So it's incredible how much like they've advanced the internal combustion engine to be able to get 900 horsepower from a V6. So I was really just like kind of mesmerized watching that come out and, thinking about how cool that is, the technology's like gotten there. But yeah, of course, I've got the Ferrari 458. I got it like in 2021. And so I still love that car, and a lot of people like it because it's the last of its kind that has a V8 and that's not turbocharged and that doesn't have the electrification. And so I'm still loving that car. It feels just as exciting as like when I first got it.
Yeah, I saw it. It's a beautiful car.
Thank you.
What do you think about the McLaren, the new one? I think it was the W1.
Dude, I haven't looked at it. So I'm like kind of a car guy, but I've really gotten more into like racing and in building my skill of driving. And so I've been spending a lot of time and resources on that. And I would say, like, I don't even like watching racing, but I just like love learning the skill, because you could take my car away. You could take all the money that I've earned away. You could even take whatever, I mean, this podcast away, but I'll have the skill of driving. So that's what you can't ever take away, is skills. And so that's why I get excited about, well, let me try to hone the skill of driving. It's a very rare thing that most people don't have, like the ability to truly drive that to the absolute limit of the car's capability. And so, I mean, no matter what, I'm sure it's a really cool car. I just, not a McLaren guy. I haven't really looked too much into it. But I would just say, that's kind of where my true interest lies, is just building that skill. And to me, that's like the most rewarding thing that I could do. And Yeah,
most definitely. Well, thank you, David, for your time. And
what was your top takeaway from this?
Well, I learned that if I stay consistent with what I'm doing, I'll be able to achieve more. Especially, you said, with the calls, like make sure I'm dedicating like an hour and a half to the cold callings, and I could achieve more with that.
Why did you decide to get your real estate license instead of going into IT, which is what you're studying?
Well, I had some extra time and some extra money on my hands, so I decided, why not just do the real estate? And while I was doing the real estate, actually, I realized one of the guys in the class was like, "Hey, like, do you know what real estate wholesaling is?" And he was doing that, and like he just got me into that.
Got it. Well, cool. I'm glad we've got a lot of similarities. I'm glad you reached out, and hope it was helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for your time.
What's your Instagram too? I want to look you up and follow you back.
It's RLY Abdirahman. Oh, and also, are you still like looking for like new deals and stuff in real estate?
Yeah, I'm always looking for new deals in Indianapolis. That's specifically where I'm investing.
Would you be interested if I sent you a few, if I get them?
Yeah, if you have the deal in Indianapolis, for sure.
All right.
What I like to buy is a property that's like a single family home, and in perfect condition, it's worth 180, and all in, meaning I bought the rundown house and I put the money in to fix it up. I'm like all in for like 120. So they're really hard deals to find. That's what my buy box was. Now, if you find a deal like that, you could sell it to me, but if it's that good of a deal, you can absolutely sell it to someone else who's willing to pay more than I am. So just letting you know, you'll make more money if you sell it to someone else, but you could definitely sell it to me.
Okay, so you said single family, all in 120, including the rehab, or?
Including the rehab. Yes, sir.
All in 120.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. It's going to be hard, but man, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, if you have a deal like that, truly, you'll make more money selling it to someone else. So I would definitely recommend you do that. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to buy it as well if you don't want to make as much money.
Okay. All right.
All right, man. I'll see you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.